We have a nice dirty Nintendo Switch OLED here. It doesn't look too bad on the outside. You can see right here in these screens where the speaker kind of sound comes out that it is a little gunky there. I'm going to plug it in because I want to show you though the main reason that I decided to clean this. No matter what Joy-Cons I put here, the left one will work usually for a few seconds and then quit working. So there's something about that connection that is not setting properly. And it could be that I need to replace a part there, but I think it's possible that I just need to clean it. So we're going to get this entire thing torn down and deep clean and find out. I'm going to use a couple of spacers here to try to carefully unsnap and remove the back part of this case. I'm being a little cautious because I don't want to accidentally break it, and I can't quite remember if the screws on the side for the rails need to be taken off, but I'm going to remove them just so that I'm not working against something that I shouldn't be. I think it was just stuck on a little bit because something was spilled in there. I'm just going to remove this hinge system. I'm not going to completely disassemble the hinge itself, but we will get this back part off of here. I think these are pretty cool. All right, now on to the main system. I think we can reuse this tape, so I'm taking it off carefully and we'll set it aside. Then we can pop these antennas out. Antennae? What's the plural for antenna? Just need to put my spacer underneath, and that should release them from the adhesive that has them held down. It's not a super tight adhesive. And we'll fish this cable out through here. We can set those aside. We just have a few screws to get out of the way, and then we can take this shield off of here. There is some thermal paste that is stuck onto the heat sink here, or heat pipe, and we'll talk about replacing that when we get to it. We do need to use a special kind of thermal paste. There's our daughter board. I'll remove this pipe here now and see there is a little bit more thermal paste underneath it. Once again, we'll talk about that when we put it back together. Let's get the fan out of the way. And we'll just keep doing our teardown, releasing these cables so we can get to our motherboard. And here is this rail, the one in question, and there's quite a bit of gunk under here you can see. So I am wondering if it is going to be the clean that does the trick for us. Get all that gunk down on the sensor at the bottom of it, and I could see the Joy-Con having trouble staying connected because of that. So we'll just continue to take it apart and find out. Just gonna lift up and then pull out on this motherboard here. I'm kind of being careful because I don't want to break it. Just needed to pry the bottom part of the plastic a little bit with my thumb, and we can remove that. This is kind of stuck down on here with some adhesive of some sort. Let's get this ribbon cable out of the way. Here are the spots where I took those screws out earlier. This is actually the point where I believe I could remove those now. I was taking a look here to see if I want to take this apart further, and I actually don't think these housing units are meant to be able to take apart for the speakers there, so we're just going to leave them alone. At this point, I'm going to leave the rest of this together. I believe that I can clean everything I want to from the outside without needing to remove this screen or this battery. I don't have a lot of plastic pieces to soak this time, but we'll put in what we have. Stir it up a little bit. And I don't want to soak this part, so I'm just going to get to cleaning it right away, trying to keep the metal out of there. Same with this back piece, there are some anchor points there for screws that are metal, so I'm going to go ahead and clean them with this soapy water, but I will make sure to dry them out and air blast them really quick with my electric air duster to make sure that they don't have water sitting in them. These little screens are quite gross, but we're getting them clean nice and good here with our toothbrush and soapy water. Okay, let's use our isopropyl alcohol and our makeup brushes and try to get some of this stickiness cleaned up. It's kind of hard to see, but there's definitely something that got spilled and is stuck in here, and it makes kind of a very shiny, clear, it almost looks like black ice. Like a shiny, clear, sticky substance. It doesn't show up super well on camera unless you're at the right angle, but I can definitely see it in person, and you can feel it if you touch it. It's very sticky. So I'm just going to use this makeup brush here with my isopropyl alcohol, try to get that kind of saturated a little bit so we can start to work it up. I am going to have to resort to using my cotton swabs a little bit just for the pressure that I can't quite get with the makeup brush. There, you can kind of see one of those spots that I'm talking about at this angle, and I'm just trying to kind of work at it. I am going to resort to using a dental pick a little bit here very carefully, especially on surfaces that are not on the outside that you won't see, because I wouldn't want to scratch something on the outside. But this will help me loosen some of this up a little bit. And then hit it with the IPA again. I know this will edit down to like a minute's worth of footage. I'm spending quite a bit of time going over this thing. And it is slow but steady and satisfying work. This is after, and I think it looks pretty good, so we are going to move forward with the rest of our clean. Let's get the other side here. I can notice a little bit of gunk that's kind of in the seam here for the screen, and I don't want to completely take the screen out, so I'm just going to try to get some IPA in there, and with this cotton swab, hopefully it will grab and work at that dirt that's just a little bit in that seam. And then we're going to spray it with glass cleaner, give it a good gentle wipe with our microfiber cloth, and I think we got it. It looks pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of surface clean this daughter board with the makeup brush. We'll use the pick on this headphone jack to get some of the stickiness on the outside of it here. And again, it's hard to see, but there's just something that got on here. So we are slowly, carefully getting rid of it. I'm going to remove this old thermal paste. Just kind of take it off with a cotton swab or two here. I will be completely replacing all of this. No need to use IPA here, just the swab itself is good for removing it. On the motherboard here now, we do have some areas that are just really stubborn. So once again, getting to my cotton swab. Now in this rail, I can see there's just some stuff in these cracks, and we're just gonna have to keep going over it to do our best. This fan, I didn't touch it. Looks great. I don't see a need to clean it. And here we have all of our now clean parts laid out. I'll give you a little peek of my magnetic organizer here where I have the screws and the tape. And let's get it reassembled. I want to advise that if you do use metal tweezers of any kind to help with these cables, that you be very careful not to scratch them or to damage them. I am noticing here some gunk that did not come up with that clean now that I get it in the right light, so we're going to hit it again. I hope this makes a good video because it's a very satisfying process trying to remove all of this and seeing it go away. Here is the typical thermal paste that I use, but for the Switch OLED, we specifically want to use this kind of thermal paste. I am noticing it's a little thicker, just has a different consistency to it, more of a putty. I'm only going to use about half of that, I think. Spread it around just a little bit, and now we can put this pipe back on here. Center it up and just kind of press it down evenly, and that should be good. Let's lock it down with our screws. These pins line up inside of that kind of male to female in there, so make sure to line them up, and then you can just push that daughter board back down. I saved plugging the battery in for last. Let's put more of that thermal paste on top here, and then when we put our shield down, it will just press in there and we should be good to go. Just using these tweezers to help guide carefully the wire down in here. I don't want to poke a hole in the wire. It's nice having the footage that I filmed of the disassembly so that I can remember where everything goes when I put it back together. It's something I often miss when I'm working on a new project that I'm not filming. The nice thing is though, the more of these projects I do, the more footage I have to reference and look at when I'm putting it back together. Just have to pry this plastic a little bit in order to get this kickstand back in. I have the hinge open here for the kickstand so that I get a little bit of a downward angle on this, because otherwise I'm having a difficult time having these pieces stay together while I work on it. Kind of line up the bottom here, make sure that everything is going in properly before I force anything down. And then I do want to be kind of careful to lift up on the top here around the power and volume buttons so that I don't push those out of the way when putting the case back together. Just a few more screws here and we have our reassembly complete. Okay, let's test it out and see how it does. I'm gonna go ahead and try to turn this back on. This is one of those moments where I hold my breath a little bit and hope that I didn't wreck it. But it seems to be loading up, so that's a good thing. And I'm probably gonna need to plug this in to keep her from dying on me. Okay, now we can test it out. So far so good. I need to keep playing with this a little bit more off screen, but it looks like it checks out. This left Joy-Con is working good. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to check out this other video where I work on doing a little bit of a modification on a Nintendo Switch Lite that was chewed up by a dog. Appreciate you watching this with me, and I hope you have a good one.